Welcome to the Make and Design Podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner. On this podcast, we're unraveling the everyday joys and dilemmas of design, making, and business. For makers who want to be designers and for designers who are makers, this is your inside scoop to help you grow your business and bring more creativity to your life. Today, I want to talk about the 3 powerful design strategies that you do not want to miss. So I think you're going to like these. I'm coming off of a boot camp, and so I was thinking about these things. There are things that we highlight in boot camp. We go much, much deeper. So if you want to come check that out, make sure and sign up for a design boot camp. Okay, let's talk about these powerful strategies because they really are not your typical design strategies. If you're on YouTube with me, you'll notice there are lots of tutorials on how to create design work in Illustrator, shows you how to use the tools. And that's not what we're all about here. Yes, do we need those skills? We do. We 100% need those skills. But what I find is that people aren't continually motivated when they aren't making money, when they aren't thinking about design smart. Instead, they're just learning about the skills. So I like to take it a step further. We're thinking about strategies and how actually to get paid as designers, right? Okay, so these are 3 powerful strategies you're going to want. We're going to start with number 1, working smart, not just hard. I believe we need both. I think we have to be hard workers, but I also think we have to work smart. Those of you in boot camp know I tell a story about how I got started, and I was working very, very hard, not very smart. And the moment I started working smart, everything changed for me. So I really believe that you need to be going out of your way to work smart, and then eventually you actually probably will stop working quite so hard. In fact, design work for me, when I'm having a design day, those are my quiet, relaxing days. I have a movie going, I'm doing all the design work, I'm in my happy place, okay? Design is easy for me now. Now I actually just need some white noise going. If you guys knew the number of times I've watched Gilmore Girls all the way through, because I just need that white noise while I'm doing all my design work, okay? So let's work smart. Number 2 is repurpose everything. I talk about this all the time, and I really dive into this in design boot camp. But you should be repurposing your design work. If you draw something one time, you use it in one medium, you are failing as a designer when it comes to the money strategies. You are using it in one realm, one medium. Okay, so for example, if I draw a flower and then I put it into a fabric line and then that's it, oh my gosh, I've made money on it once. Now, what if I took that flower that took me lots of time to design and draw, and I put it into a paper pack, okay? And then I put it into a digital scrapbooking pack. And then we use it as a cutout for an SVG for a silhouette or Cricut file. And then it shows up in a printable. And then, hey, it looks great as a piece of clip art, okay? That's what we call repurposing. Most people don't know how to do this correctly. We do this quite a bit in Design Suite because you can understand the way, because you've got to transform the piece, right? Every time you move it into a new medium, you've got to transform it and use it wisely. I see people trying to do this and it doesn't get done very well. So I'm here to tell you, first of all, good that you're repurposing. So think about it that way. How can I use this stuff to repurpose? But then you've got to think strategically about how you're going to use it. If you just put it in 7 different mediums and that's it, many times it's not formatted correctly, it doesn't look good, your production is off. So make sure you're using it wisely and the production is correct and it's what the consumer wants. If you're not doing that piece, if you're making SVG files and you never consume SVG files, do you know what happens? You don't really understand the way those things ought to be cut, the way a regular consumer does, right? So you need to be paying attention to that, and you should be cutting files, right? If you don't ever use fabric and you think that your fabric repeat is just going to be people are going to think it's the bomb, the problem is, if you don't know how fabric is being used, if you're not a quilter or a dressmaker or something, then in a lot of ways, you're not going to create the negative spaces necessary for it to do well, okay? So I want you to consider that. But repurpose everything, you guys. I repurpose everything. Content for social, this thing that you're watching right here, this is a podcast that is showing up in YouTube, which eventually I suspect will show up. Well, it does show up on Instagram, right? In stories. Maybe it'll show up at some point in as an actual Instagram post. I don't know. Okay, but the point is that we are repurposing content as much as we can, and that is the same thing we should be doing with design work. Okay, I started with the design work. I repurposed first with design work, and then it moved into content. All right, number 3. This is a funny one. So I call this do the math. Now, what do I mean by this? Very often we as creatives, we think it's just flow state, and we're like, today I'm going to design something, and tomorrow or maybe the day after that I'm going to finish it. Well, if you do that and every 3 days you come out with one design, how many designs will you have at the end of the year? Have you done the math on it? Versus if you know that you are going to do 10 designs by Friday of this week, you're going to have 10 done, and you go, how many days is that going to take me to do? That means I have to come out with 2 designs every single day for 5 days, right? That's doing the math. Now, 10 designs a week gets me to what number? Per month, 40. Okay, times 12. I can't do the math on that, you guys. You do the math on it. But the point is, the longer you're in as a designer and the more you can produce, the more content, the more products you have, the better you're going to be able to move forward. And if you don't do the math ahead of time, do you know what happens? People just create designs once every 3 days, once every week. And they're producing one thing a week, and then they're confused. They're confused about why they are not winning as a designer. They're confused about why they're not making money as a designer. When the truth is, the math is showing that you cannot make money this way. You just can't. It's not enough design work, not for the fields that in particular I teach in. If you're going to make money, you have to have numbers on your side. And so if you haven't done the math and you don't know how many items you should come out with every single week, then you're not probably producing enough to make money. Does that make sense? So you need to do the math. Do the math, okay? I hope this helped you guys. Like, seriously, these 3 strategies will change the way that you are thinking about your design work. 1, work smarter, not necessarily harder, although I like both. You guys know I am all about the hard work. Number 2, repurposing everything. And number 3, do the math, you guys. These are things that not everyone's doing. In fact, I know very few people are doing. You're here listening to this podcast or here with me on my YouTube channel. Do it. Make these changes. Become a great designer, and do it with strategy and being smart about the way you move your business forward. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.